Hello. In our latest episode of Ladies First Not Really, I had the pleasure of interviewing Ruth Hall Andrew Hairfield, who was born in 1937 here in Spotsylvania. This is a two-part series interview with Ruth and her daughter Donna. I hope you enjoy.
My husband, we were married 49 years, and he was a local Spotsylvania. He grew up at the lake. He grew up in Lake Anna, really. We had a good life. My brother got married young and had two kids young, and his daughter was born fine, but had the baby shots and ended up not fine. And so she's very developmental. What's the words for her? Developmentally delayed. Because she's delayed. She doesn't talk. She can walk. She can stand up. And she can let you know what she wants and what she doesn't want. And so mom and Tippy took care of her for like 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
Up until about 6 years ago. They took care of her.
Wow.
As long as he lived when he died. Uh, the difficulty really after he died was that there was nobody in the house but me. And if she got out on the floor, I could not get her up.
Oh.
And I would have to call 911. It was totally different then. I mean, there was no Arby's when I was growing up. No restaurants. Were there any restaurants even? I never ate at a restaurant till I met your daddy, I reckon. I was lucky that both sets of my grandparents both lived in Fredericksburg. So mom's parents lived, 5 miles from town west, and my other grandparents lived 5 miles north. And so I was very fortunate to have both sets of my grandparents. The other thing that's just from a background perspective, and I just found this recently with the genealogy, but her father, Buck Hall, his family came to Stafford in the 1600s. They've been here. She had no idea. They were in Stafford and then Culpeper County, Richardsville. And then my husband and I lived out at Lake of the Woods on the other side of Route 3. And my third great grandfather owned all that land where we lived at 20 years. And then they ended up in Parker. And then her other grandfather, so that's the Halls, but her grandmother was a Talley. Her grandmother's family was from the Route 3 area as well. Her grandfather Hall's home place is part of the Wilderness Battlefield in Parker. So his home, her grandfather's home place is part of the Battlefield National Park. Okay. And then the Tallies has also gotten bought up by the Central Virginia Battlefield Trust. So that's also very important. But I'm not sure where the house was, but Granddaddy's house, I don't know when they decided to buy that. They bought some land from him, but it was always a question, what was he willing to sell? Because they wanted a piece that he was not really willing to sell, but they eventually bought all of that he lived on Hill Ewell Drive.
Okay.
And they bought all of that. I think they own all of it on that side of the road, the south side. Well, the people that, I don't know who bought the land at Granddaddy's farm at first, but then the people who bought it from them just a few years later, we knew. And they sold it, got a lifetime right to live on. So they really were living.
Oh, that
Both sides of them were battlefield. They tore down the house because it was built after the war. Did they? I'm pretty sure they tore down the house. The other thing that might be interesting is what was medical care like? Like going to the doctor, going to the hospital, getting vaccines. What was that like?
Oh yeah.
It was different for us than it was for anybody else because we had a doctor who lived next door. A local family, the lady married, one of the girls married a Jewish doctor. And I don't know. Yeah. And Birdseed Road back here where we grew up. So he had a practice in Northern Virginia because I know I went up there to see Harriet one time and rode with him. But he also had a small practice in the house, and I think eventually that's what he did. And of course, it was great for even people that went to other doctors because there were specialists here then, but there were not that many. Dr. Jones and Earnhardt, Dr. Lloyd were the only ones when you were born.
Yeah.
And you just went to Dr. Payne, or it was 2 or 3 doctors. Pratt Clinic had started when I was growing up.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that far back.
Yeah, yeah. It most of my life, I think it was there. I don't know what year, uh, but I remember going to the doctor there when I was young.
Do you, where was that clinic at?
Is it on the canal? Where they had that nice building?
They were in that building, but they were someplace else first. Almond Roffles lived in that building, I think, at one time, and I know a friend of Mom and Daddy's lived there. Uh, People had apartments there even when it was a medical clinic. But for us, medical care was good because
Well, Dr. Bernstein.
Dr. Bernstein lived, like I say, right next door. So if anything really tragic happened, then he was right there.
It's very convenient.
So, you know,
Then you had the hospital. Did y'all ever have to go to the hospital for anything? Ever?
well, back then you had your tonsils out when you were little. So I had my tonsils out at the old hospital. I call the old hospital the one on Park History. And then the new one was built when I guess I was in high school still.
Did you get vaccinated?
There weren't that many. Now, when I took her to the doctor to be vaccinated,
Niece.
Okay.
Not me. You're talking about me. Wow.
yeah, when I took you, we lived in Texas at that time. As I said, my husband worked for the Department of the Army. We went to Texas, San Antonio, stayed there 1 month, and turned around and came back to Virginia. And then went to New York City. So my landlady said, well, come on, I'll take you to the doctor for her checkup because she was about 6 weeks old at that time. And I took her to the doctor and I wanted to give her shots. I don't give shots to babies. Oh, I don't. She looks fine and didn't even give her a checkup.
She looks fine.
She was a C-section baby, so you know they don't go through the birth canal, so that makes a difference. And she said she looks fine to me. Nice knowing you.
Any epidemics like COVID? Did you have any?
When I was a chancellor, and I could almost tell your name, but it's not coming. Redhead girl lived down the road from here. Had I had symptoms. I had scarlet fever.
Oh.
That was very bad, and of course polio was rampant.
I was
Rampant.
You remember that?
And yeah, I know people. Well, Dorothy, she's Dorothy Curtis now. Dorothy Landrum, that I went to school with, had it, and had one leg shorter than the other. And when she bought shoes, she has to buy, and she told me this a few years ago. She said, when I buy shoes, I have to buy two separate size, pair, because it's a size difference between her 2 feet.
Oh my goodness.
Because she had polio in that one leg. And
But none of y'all got.
No, and the shot came out then, I guess, about the time you were born.
Okay.
But, I mean, there were years you couldn't go swimming in the summertime. And Keith, I don't remember his last name, that I went to school with, had it, and he did not walk again. And of course, Spotsylvania High School had steps. I mean, back then, there was nothing. I don't know how he made it up down the steps.
Didn't Kate Trent's mother go on like the iron lung machine?
Probably so.
Was that from polio?
I think so. And she went all of her life then and did. And I remembered going to a wedding. First wedding I went to, she was there. And somebody said, well, Doc, when are you getting married? And she said, well, I can walk down the aisle by myself. My daddy carried her in school when she first started.
Aw.
So she went to school with my father. And she had a child
In my class.
in her class.
Oh wow.
I don't remember what she died of, but she lived a long time.
What was What women's medical health care like? I mean, and I know we go to the gynecologists, and I mean, do we have specialists like that then, or you just went to just the regular physician, or
The gynecologists were as I said, there were 3 in
OBs
Fredericksburg.
that were
three OBs? Okay.
OBs,
Yeah, uh, but mama always just went to a regular doctor, and she didn't have a gynecologist, and her father and what my first husband was too, and my second husband was too, were both born at home. My father-in-law went to work one morning and came home and looked, and that was one baby, and his wife says, "Look over there, there's another one."
Oh my gosh.
They tell the story. My dad's death certificate said his name is Gene Andrews, and his sister was Joan because they were so ugly when they were born. And as they got older, they decided they weren't so bad looking after all and changed their names to Louis Jr.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Gene. So she it's because you were so ugly when you were born, they named you Gene.
Oh, so sad. Oh my goodness.
Do you have like lab work? Like we go get labs every
Oh, no, 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 no,
no, she
that's all very new. If your daddy got sick today,
yeah, he'd still be
he'd
alive.
still be alive.
Right.
Hmm.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that it was just
He died of his first heart attack at the age of 37.
First heart attack? Oh my
Age of
goodness.
37.
but there
37.
was so little knowledge.
Yeah.
There weren't cardiologists
Yeah,
that many. When I came back here, I think there was one cardiologist in town. Yeah. And so back then, because we lived in a small town, I mean, it wasn't Mosquito Lagoon.
And there was no medical insurance, so you paid everything. Like when you had a baby, you paid out of pocket.
No, no, you had insurance. There was insurance. I mean, I was not pregnant when I got married, but you were born early enough after the marriage that I don't think the insurance paid for. But they paid for Kathy.
Oh,
And then
really?
we didn't have medical insurance with Kenny. And I mean, he worked for Lockheed, I think, at the time. But I don't think we had medical. We just didn't have insurance for a baby.
Oh, okay.
But they worked so much overtime,
Okay.
paid for it. I had medical insurance at work, at the plant.
At the
Yeah.
plant you did in
I think
56?
I did, but I think it
55, okay.
it was very particular about what they covered. It was it was such a different time that
Well,
today.
that's what she's interested in, is
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
different, yeah.
And it's hard to describe the differences, but it was difference in thought and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember a girl going to the hospital. Well, she must be pregnant.
Oh,
Doesn't matter if she was married.
she must be.
And of course, if you were pregnant and didn't want to be, then there were abortion places you could go.
It was.
Oh, yeah, in Fredericksburg, sure. I don't know where the word was in there.
Wow.
That's curious.
I know.
Yeah.
It's curious.
And you would hear people that going,
Oh.
and that's why so many people were not against it when it passed, because the dangers of going to a clinic were so bad.
Mhm.
And the thought of a lot of people was that if you had good care, then you were better off to get it done properly
Right.
and not die
Right.
than to
Go to one of these.
go to one of these places and die. I mean, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, you think
That is
of what they
scary.
probably did.
Yeah.
Real scary. Real scary for me as an older adult.
So I think just looking back now on all the years, for the women today, do you have anything that you would advise them on?
Well, I think the important thing really is to have a relationship with God and a
Mhm.
relationship with Jesus Christ. Um, and I think that if you have that, that other things seem to fall into place better. I think one of the problems today is people are looking everywhere and don't know what they're looking for,
Mhm.
and you're not going to find it that way. So it's only through God that you can find true happiness and true peace in this world.
That's awesome.
But we used to wear leggings. And, it's clothes are so much more comfortable now than they were back then. I mean, you come here to interview with me with a pair of jeans on.
Mm-hmm.
And used to be you would wear a dress and heel and hose and all that stuff. And I think that's what really good that we're so much more comfortable now than we were in years past.
I'm glad we're laid back. I don't wear dresses, and I'm not sure I would have made it through the 50s and the 60s.
I sure don't want to put leggings on, Charlotte.
What did you have
Every time they go
when you
outside.
worked at the plant?
I wore hose and heels, I guess. I don't remember, but I'm sure I did. That's what you wore.
What was
I
it?
wore them even on Sunday night to church. And Wednesday night, I put on a dress and hose, the whole 9 yards.
What was it like working at the plant? What did you do there?
Most boring job in the world, probably. Um, and I don't know exactly what I did now. I really don't remember. I remember adding up these rows of figures, lots and lots of figures. And then uh, the other girl would be doing the same thing. And then if we didn't come up with the same figure, we would have to figure out why we didn't and find errors. And I don't know what we were adding up or anything else. And now people who worked in the computer department had to have air conditioning because of the computer. But we had no air conditioning. I guess we had heat. I don't remember being cold in the winter. But in the summertime, then we would have these big fans, and they only did so much good. Uh, One good thing was we had break time. We had like 15-minute break in the morning and the afternoon, and then I don't know how long we had for lunch. Um, and so we would sit around and talk with people then, and so there was some getting to know one another like that. They had several break rooms. I know I got a promotion. I don't remember what I did after I got the promotion. That's what I was adding figures. First time when I first went to work there, I was a file clerk, and then I was in accounting doing something. And but the breaks were interesting because you got to know one another there.
Tell her with the home demonstration because it's similar to the sewing circle thing, I think.
Yeah, it's the same thing basically. It's a group of ladies that get together once a month and improving their homemaking skills, I guess, is basically what they were supposed to be doing. Mom got curious because I didn't go. What was her name? Gay?
Gay, Green.
And what was her job? Do you remember?
Demonstration agent, was that what they were called back then?
Only it was for ladies, and this Gay, I remember this Gay because she was my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, was she was a home demonstration agent is what they called them. And that was one of her responsibilities is working with this club of ladies.
Oh,
And but they took on sewing projects. I think they learned just various homemaking skills.
The other thing they had, I don't know if Barbara brought this up, but and I vaguely remember this. They actually had what they was it called a canning circle? Because not everybody had canning equipment, and you could go somewhere.
You could go to the courthouse and do canning.
oh, I did hear about that.
Yeah, yeah, and even beef. You could put beef, pork in jars and can them back then. But it was very useful for people that didn't have canning equipment.
Yeah.
And a way to do it quickly. The whole summer growing up, that's what we did was can, because Mama never let anything go to waste.
Their basement was filled of canning jars of food, but they never went hungry. Did you ever go hungry?
No,
Ever.
no.
The other thing that was important back then too is the role of the church, right?
Totally different from it is now because everybody went. There was no social.
Yeah, that was the social.
Yeah, that was the social thing. So, I mean, you had your spring revival, fall revival. I guess we did here. I know we did in Florida. And
You had Sunday school and training union.
Bible school, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Walsh's jewelry store? I can't remember what was there before that. Down near Penny's.
That's where the ice cream shop is on Caroline Street.
Anyway, my daughter worked there when I guess she was still in high school or right out of high school one. And she bought a bunch of jewelry, and then later on, she didn't have money to get Christmas gifts. So we got all this nice jewelry
Oh,
for
nice.
Christmas.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you being willing to share your story with me.
You're welcome.
If you are looking to connect to your ancestry or own a historic property and have always wondered its history, or maybe you know the history and would like it to be highlighted on one of our podcasts, please visit us at dogwoodandironresearch.com.